Cool. So welcome to 2025. I'm your host, Mark Santiago, welcoming you into 2025. I'm excited about this year. Um, there's a lot of good things, I think, on the horizon for um, myself personally, my family, my business, this country. I think a lot of cool shit is happening. Even Zuckerberg posted a thing yesterday about how they're going to stop with uh, the the misinformation people, the fact checkers, and get rid of some of that stuff. I feel like wokeism is dying, and I'm very grateful for it. And I'm thankful for it. Um, as someone who believes in truth and honesty, it's kind of a mission of mine to be honest with people. I try to say the truth in love. Sometimes the truth doesn't feel like love, and I get that. But we're big fans of truth around here, so I'm excited about that. That's kind of a random side note. Trying to let guys get into the Zoom call here. We had quite a few people say they wanted to be in. Now, listen, if you're here, I've got a free gift to give you, but it's only going to be at the end. This is something I've never actually given away before. So I can 100% guarantee you've never seen this content or these trainings before, but I've got that gift for you that I will drop at the end. You'll have the opportunity to get that if you stay through. What we're going to be talking about today is taking ownership in 2025 and how to really have the marriage and life you want through ownership. Now, 2025 gets to be what you want it to be. I think that's why I'm so excited about the beginning of the year is because when you have the beginning of the year, what happens is you really get a chance to start over. Everything that happened in 2024 is done. Like there's no going back, there's no takebacks, there's no changing. Nothing can be done differently in 2024 or 2025 that happened in 2020. Yeah, in 2025 that happened in 2024. So with that being said, now we get to decide who we want to be. We get to decide what kind of life we want to live. We get to decide if we want to continue acting a certain way, if we want to continue living a certain way, we get to make that decision and we get to choose what 2025 looks like. Now, this is why ownership is so important because if you're a guy who's a victim, no, then everything to you is happening at you. Meaning you don't have control over anything and you feel like a victim because of all the things you're experiencing. This is key because this is going to separate whether or not you will be successful in life or whether or not you will just be a little bitch. You will just be somebody who just always complains and moans and groans about life and shit that's happening. Or will you be the guy who says, you know what? I've been dealt these cards. I have these lemons. I'm going to make this into lemonade. I'm going to take these cards and I'm going to win with them. I'm going to find a way to make good shit happen. If that's not you, you probably don't want to listen to this call because I am going to berate that. I am going to beat that because to me, ownership is the key to being a man. Ownership is everything. You've heard it said, and I think I wrote about this in the email the other day when I was inviting you guys to this, is that a lot of guys feel guilty. They feel guilty about shit they did in their marriage. They feel guilty about stuff that didn't go right. They feel guilty about who they were, how they showed up, how they treated their wife. And because of that guilt, they stay stuck there and are trying to make amends. They're trying to make up for their guilt instead of moving to a place of conviction. You see, if you are coming at life from a place of guilt, that means you are living in shame. You are living from a place of shame, and shame has no power. Shame has zero power. You ever see somebody who's been caught in some sort of shameful act? They are powerless. And that's what you feel like when you're caught in this shameful act of being an asshole, being a jerk to your wife, being whatever. And you've recognized and you've realized that you have not been the husband, you've not lived up to the standard that you wanted to live up to, that you hoped that you would be. And because of that, you live from a place of shame and guilt. That shame and guilt is not serving you. It is not helping you become the kind of man that your wife would want to have back. It is not helping you become the kind of father that your kids want to respect and admire. That shame is not helping you be the leader that you need to be. That shame is not helping you produce amounts of revenue that goes far and beyond what you've ever produced before. Why? Because shame is debilitating. And so many men live in shame. Why do men kill themselves? Because they are ashamed. They are ashamed. They live in that constant state of guilt and shame. And I'm telling you, I'm here today to give you the good news that there is a way out of shame. It is called ownership. It is called ownership. It is called taking ownership over the things that you can control and the things that you have done or have not done and make them right. Mark, I can't make right the past. What I can do is make right the future. So today, right now, in this moment, you have a fucking opportunity to make 2025 your bitch. You have an opportunity to make 2025 what you want it to be. It starts right here. It starts with mental clarity around what it is that you want. So ownership has two parts to it. So most guys, I hear this like 90% of the time when I mention the word ownership, and guys will say to me, I've owned my shit. I've already taken ownership. I've taken ownership. Oh no, I've owned my shit, man. I've owned my shit. And I'm like, bro, what does ownership mean to you? Well, I told her I was sorry. I said I was sorry for all the bad things I did. So that's taking ownership? You just said you're sorry? So basically what you're saying is you just apologized to her and expected that to just fix things. That's not taking ownership. That's just giving an apology. Call it what it is. And let me tell you something. Women at this point don't want your fucking apology. They could give two shits about your apology. If your wife has left you, if your wife doesn't want to be married to you, if your wife is cheating on you, she doesn't care about your apology. She doesn't. Especially when your apology is really about you and not about her. See, most men apologize. Oh, baby, I'm so sorry I did this to you and all this. And I used to live in the South. I'm from the South, so I use Southern accents. Oh, baby, I did this and I did that wrong, and I'm so sorry. I'm the worst. Would you take me back? Would you just please? Man, and we're coming at it from a place of shame and guilt. We're not coming at it from a place of masculinity. We're not coming at it from a place of strength and power and humility. All that false pride bullshit is not humility. That's all that is. So true ownership is not just an admission of guilt. It's not just an admission of you did something wrong. It is an action towards what is right. There's two parts to it. There's two parts. And your one acknowledgement of like, I fucked up, but you keep fucking up. You keep doing the same thing over and over again. You keep being an asshole to her. You keep not listening to her. You keep not trying to understand her. You keep communicating to her like she's your daughter, or you keep communicating to her like she's your mom. You keep acting like you're a child. You keep acting like you're a teenage boy. All of those things are happening and occurring, and you say you're sorry. You've owned it. You haven't owned shit. What your wife is looking for, what your kids are looking for, what your boss is looking for, what your friends and family are looking for is for you to grow the fuck up. It's for you to grow the fuck up, man. It's for you to be a man. Because a real man is not a tough guy. A real man is a humble guy. A real man isn't some guy who's like, oh, I feed my family, I do this, I do that. Yeah, man, producing is part of being a man. It's one of the 5 dimensions that we talk about in our programs. But a real man takes ownership. He takes ownership. And that ownership is he recognizes the things he's done wrong, and he takes ownership by taking action to rectify those things, to become somebody new, to become somebody different, to literally make changes. He takes steps to make sure that those wrong things don't happen again. I'll give you a couple examples. One of my clients, Jeff, he was an alcoholic for many years, and he had to rectify that. You know, he went to his wife and apologized. That wasn't doing anything. And what he had to do is he had to work on himself. He had to work on himself to a point where he started to see that he is not that person anymore. He doesn't want to be that person anymore. And so as he gained freedom from his alcoholism, he then could own it with her and say, hey, not only did I treat you like an asshole, but I chose not to live that way anymore. And this is who I am moving forward. And so for her to rebuild trust with him, she saw that. And she saw it wasn't just his words, it was his actions. See, all of us have words. Men are good with words. We're good at seducing with words. We're good at using words to get people to do what we want. We control, we demean, we bully, we whatever from our places of trauma, our unhealed shame. And when it comes to this, especially those of you who are like really desperate to save your marriage, you got to check your desperation. You really got to check your desperation. Like, what do you really want? Why do you really want to be with this woman? Why do you really want to save your marriage? Is this really about her or is this about you? Because if it's about you and you're trying to get her back and she says, I don't want to be with you anymore, do you see why she thinks you're controlling? Do you see why she thinks you're being manipulative? See, because at the end of the day, a person who doesn't want to be with you is the hardest thing. It hurts. It's hard to deal with. It doesn't feel comfortable. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel right. We feel victimized. We feel victimized by this. And that turns us into victims. You see, you can experience this and feel like somebody has hurt you, somebody's rejected you, somebody's abandoned you. You can be victimized, but it doesn't mean you have to be a victim. A victim takes on the victimization as an identity. A victim is someone who's taking, I've never said that before. A victim is someone who is taking on the identity of someone who's been victimized. And because you take on that identity, now that's who you are. Not, I just happen to be a person who's been victimized. I happen to be a person who was abandoned or who was rejected or who was cheated on. Those are things that happen to me, but that's not my identity. My ex-wife cheated on me, but that doesn't make me a victim of her cheating. It just says you were victimized. It hurt. You had to deal with it. You had to heal from it. But that's not who I am. I am not a victim. And you get to choose whether or not you will be a victim this year. You get to choose that through your ownership. Another client of mine, Jason, got married to his wife, and early on in their marriage, he had made some decisions. He had done some things that he wasn't proud of. And he had never admitted those things to her. He had never come clean about those things. He's wanting to save his marriage. He's wanting to have a chance at having a new marriage with her. And I told him, I was like, bro, man, how are you going to do that when you have this stuff here that you've never admitted to her? And he came to the conclusion, he's like, I need to tell her. I need to tell her. I need to be honest. I need to take ownership over this. I need to admit, not just admit what I did wrong, but move forward from a place of ownership. And I was like, yeah, I agree. And here's the thing is because he knew that if he wanted a chance at having a new marriage, at creating a new marriage, if he wanted that chance, he was going to have to take ownership. And so he did. He took ownership and it hurt her. It hurt her bad. But here's the thing. She respected him. Her respect level for him raised, not because of what he had done, but because he took ownership. See, some of you are in this place in your marriage, in this place in your life, because you refuse to take ownership. You refuse to be honest. You refuse to be vulnerable. And it keeps you staying stuck. It's like you hope that somehow, if I can just make it through this, if I can just manipulate her through this, that we'll get through this and I won't have to take ownership, that I won't have to actually like change. I won't have to transform into a new and powerful man. I can just stay comfortable in my alcohol or my addictions, stay comfortable in being an asshole. If I'm just nice to her for 6 months and I can get her back, then if I fail in that, it's okay. It's all right. It's not a big deal. See, because you feel guilty right now, but your guilt will go away. Your guilt will go away. See, guilt doesn't last forever. If you feel guilty of the way you treated your wife, but you have no conviction, it'll go back. This is why women will say to you, I don't trust your changes. I don't think I think you're full of shit. I don't think it's going to be real. Man, I've seen so many guys come to me over the years who were just like, oh man, I'm making all these changes. She's seeing them. She's coming back. It's going to be great. And then 6 months later, she's gone again. What happened? Fell off, man. I stopped doing the things I was supposed to do. Why? Why did you stop doing those things? You didn't have conviction. See, conviction is the key to unlocking everything, but it takes ownership to get to that place. It takes ownership to translate you from guilty to convicted. Conviction, when I say I am a man, when I say I am a powerful man, when I say that I am going to do what I say I'm going to do, that takes conviction. If you've ever watched football, watch quarterback who in the NFL, is like really struggling, right? He's seeing the field, but he's not seeing the field, and he goes to throw the ball, and he's second guessing himself. He's pump faking. He's like, ah, and he's inaccurate in his throws. Why is he throwing that way? Because he lacks conviction. He lacks conviction over where that ball is going, and he doesn't believe in himself. If any of you followed the career of Bryce Young, I really didn't care much for him out of college and thought he was kind of overhyped as a Heisman candidate and all those things. And but whatever. He's just a guy, goes to Carolina, and he absolutely just stunk it up last year. Didn't really do that great. And then this year, after 2 games, they bench him again. I think it was 2 games or 3 games. They bench him, and they're just like, yeah, I don't know if this is going to work. And it kind of felt a little unfair. It felt like, wow, there's a lot of pressure. I mean, Carolina kind of sucked. This is on his second coach, all these things. But man, like you could watch his games, and it was like he just lacked conviction in his throws. He just lacked like he just was indecisive, didn't really know. And if you've watched lately, after I don't know how many weeks he was on the bench, 4 or 5 weeks or something like that, maybe it was longer. Andy Dalton was the quarterback. He got hurt. Bryce Young comes back in, and somewhere over the last 4 or 5 weeks, there is a level of conviction that Bryce Young has that is unreal, where he's lighting up offenses, or lighting up defenses. He is throwing with conviction. He is doing things that he never did before. In fact, it was I watched some of the game the other day, and he goes and he throws a touchdown, and he pulls a Steph Curry, where he throws the ball and then turns around and does this touchdown thing. And I was like, how fucking cool is that? He knew before the guy caught the ball, it was a touchdown. He didn't even have to see him catch it. He saw it, he knew it, he led with conviction. How many of you can say right now that you are leading your life with conviction? That you've taken enough ownership in everything that you're doing in every dimension of life, and you are leading with conviction? A lot of you will say you are, because you're here, because you've made changes, because you've done some things, you've read some books, you've watched some YouTube videos. And you say, I've made these changes. No, no, no. You've changed a behavior for a short season of time. Doesn't mean you've actually changed or transformed into anything. It's because I can change how I drive to work every single day. One day I can drive this way, another day I can drive this way, and then I like how I drive to work this way. So I'm just going to keep doing that for a couple months. But after a couple months, I might get bored of how I drive to work, so I'm going to change how I drive to work. And this is what we do. We start out going in this direction, and we go, okay, I'm going to change the way I've been doing it. I've been doing it this way my whole life. So now I'm going to change. I'm going to do this. But after a while, I kind of get bored and I miss the old way of doing it. So I'm going to go back to the old way of going to work. Plus, it was faster. It got me where I wanted to go, right? And same thing with us and our needs. We get our needs met through manipulation. So it's probably easier if I just manipulate my wife as opposed to doing it the new way, which actually takes work for me to learn how to communicate, which takes effort for me to learn how to set boundaries, for me to own my shit, to be a leader. That takes actual work. That takes actual effort. And so in the midst of it, I remember when in 2016, when I was going through all this with my ex-wife, and she left me and she was cheating on me and all this shit. And I was like, I'm just gonna make all these massive changes. And I was like reading books, I was like YouTube, I bought courses, and I'm like going through all this stuff. And it was just like all of it was to manipulate her. None of it was for me. None of it was for me until I stopped crying for myself and I started crying for her. And what I mean by that is that, and some guys don't like it when I say this, but meaning where I started to see outside of who I was. And you go, man, this sounds counterintuitive. This sounds, yeah, it does, because this is the way it is. Meaning that my ego was trying to save my marriage. It wasn't that I was trying to actually help her. I didn't want the best for her. I wanted the best for me. And the best for me was, you don't leave me. Because if you leave me, what does that say about me? And I wasn't willing to handle that uncomfortable truth, wasn't willing to look at the big picture. Regardless of her issues, regardless of what led her to that point, I took it personally. I took it as this abandonment. I took it as I'm not good enough, which was reinforcing lies I'd already believed anyways. And so because of that, I had all this shit. And so I go to the courses, I take these things, and I learn all this stuff to basically manipulate her back into the marriage, to convince her to stay. And I do all these things, and it was like, maybe this isn't the right way, because I didn't like manipulating her. I didn't like feeling this way. And I was like, if we're going to have a marriage, it needs to be different. It needs to be from a place of me having boundaries. It needs to be from me a place of mutual respect for one another, and not yelling and screaming and emotionally baiting. And none of those things were in place. So once I actually started doing that, that really exposed the real intentions. That really exposed all the things that were happening in my marriage for real. And so, guys, as I kind of get to the point of these things, so many guys that I've worked with over the years, the best results, the best results of every client I've ever seen is from guys who are willing to take ownership. They're willing to take ownership. They're willing to do things that are counterintuitive. They're willing to stop looking at their own ego. They're willing to see empathetically what's happening with her, to understand where she's coming from, not understand her. And if you saw the post I did yesterday, your job is not to understand your wife. Your job is to make her feel heard and understood. And what that means is she is not a problem to be solved. Your wife is not a problem to be solved. She's not someone to be figured out. She is a human, a woman who has her own way of looking at life. And if I look at her as a problem to be solved, then I have diminished her humanity. And yeah, there's things that we got to fix and there's things that we got to change and do and all this stuff. But she's really looking for you to just hear her and understand her. What that means is hear her perspective, understand her perspective. You don't have to agree with her perspective. You don't have to agree with half the things she says to you, especially if your wife is cheating on you. She's going to come up with all kinds of excuses. She's going to tell you all kinds of things about yourself that isn't going to sound comfortable. That's going to feel like, oh my gosh, like, was I really that bad of a father? Was I really that bad of a husband? Talking to a guy yesterday and she was saying all that stuff to him. Like, there's probably some truth in that, but a lot of that's also through her lens of having an affair, right? When a woman is having an affair, she's going to project onto you shit that you didn't even know was there because it's not you, it's her. It's her own stuff. So you have to take it with a grain of salt. That's why I say hearing and understanding a person doesn't mean you're agreeing with that person. It just means you're helping them feel heard and understood. So three things, I'm going to get to a couple, like three action points, if you will, for you this week, this year, that I feel like you've got to do. And if you're doing these things, it is going to help you tremendously. It's going to help you tremendously to take ownership. So number one thing is you got to stop making excuses. Stop making fucking excuses. Man, I hear guys every day making excuses of why they can't take ownership, how it's her fault, how they don't need to make changes, how everything would be better if she wouldn't have done this. Their family is going to be, torn apart. Their kids are going to be miserable. Their kids are going to grow up in this impoverished way. They have no money. Like it's woe is me. I'm a little victim, bitch. Yada, yada, yada. Now, again, guys, this is where I think I'm different from most of your marriage saving courses and programs out there, is that I have lived, I have eaten, and I have breathed this shit. This is coming directly from my experiences as a man, as a husband, as someone who was married for 18 years to his ex-wife. Now I've been married for almost 4 years to my current wife. None of this I'm saying is from a place of shame or to minimize you as a person. It is to show you, though, how much of a little boy, little bitch that we all tend to be. Because it's that guy inside of us that is holding us back, that is keeping us from having the life that we want to live. It is holding us back. It is making us feel like we will never experience the joy, we'll never experience the freedom because we continue to make excuses. This is the truth. We will never have the life we want unless we stop making excuses. You can't excuse away everything. What you can do is take ownership. So that's number one, stop making excuses. Number two, be brutally fucking honest with yourself. Stop lying to yourself. Guys, this is something I used to teach my team all the time. And because I didn't understand like why it was that guys would lie to us, I have guys all the time tell me, hey man, I'm excited. I'm joining your program. Send me the link. I'm in. And then they don't fucking show up. It's like, what happened? Well, why didn't you buy? Well, because they're lying to themselves. Well, why are they lying to themselves? They're lying to themselves for, I don't know why. There's all kinds of reasons, but they were lying. They were lying to me. So because they're lying to themselves. What are they lying about? Usually it's shame. Usually it's either they can't afford it or they're not clear about something or they don't, whatever, for whatever reason. And so they lie. Why? Our instinct is to lie. Why? Because God, Adam and Eve, right? God said, Adam, why did you eat the apple? It was the woman's fault. Adam always blames the woman. That's what men have been doing since the dawn of time. We blame the woman. It's the woman's fault that I can't get ahead. It's the woman's fault I don't have a good job. It's the woman's fault that I don't have these things instead of taking ownership. So we have to stop lying. That means we need to look at our life. We need to look at all five dimensions. You as a man, you as a lover, you as a leader, you as a father, you as a producer. Look at all five of those dimensions and go, where am I lying to myself? I ask myself that question all the time. I was lying to myself about my fucking weight. Oh, I'm going to the gym. I'm eating okay. I'm just kind of, just kind of staying bulky. No, dude, you're fucking fat. You're overweight and you need to fucking lose weight. I had to say that shit to myself. Nobody else in my circle was saying that to me. I mean, people sure would like, hey, you're kind of overweight. I'm kind of praying for you, kind of hoping like I had some of that stuff, but I had to be directly honest with myself. So I've lost 60 pounds in the last whatever 8 months or whatever it is on this journey, and I got more to go. But it came from taking ownership. It came from not making excuses anymore. I'm not gonna make excuses anymore. I'm gonna find help. I'm gonna find a way to make that shit happen. Same thing I did in my marriage. I'm going to find a way to make this happen. Not save the marriage, but save me. To find out what in me attracted somebody that would talk to me this way, that would cheat on me this way. What in me would allow this kind of shit to happen for so many fucking years because I lacked confidence. So, number one thing, stop making excuses. Number two is to tell the fucking truth. And number three is to take action. I'm going to give you guys a chance to take action here in a second. I'm going to give you guys, those of you who are here on this call, I'm going to give you something free, something I've never given away before. And the reason for that is because I want you to take action today. I'm there's no friction to this. Like, dude, I'm giving it to you for free. It is I think it's a 6 hour event that we did a couple years ago with my whole team. We had panels, we had clients, we did all my stories in there. It's like 6 hours of content. I'm going to give it to you guys for free. Never given it away before. And I'm doing that because I want you to fucking take action. I don't want you to just go in there though and just listen to it. I want you to learn from it and I want you to do something with it. I want you to go apply it. I want you to take it to your wife. I want you to take it to your work. I want you to take it somewhere and try the stuff. We talk about communication. We talk about boundaries. We talk about ownership. We talk about leadership. We talk about those things in there. I want you to take action because without action, you're a fucking liar. If you don't take action, you are full of shit. Can't tell you how many times I've had a guy's man, I'd do anything to save my marriage. I have had guys offer me money, like all kinds of weird shit. Like, if you could help me save my marriage, I'll do anything. I'm like, bro, what? No, no. What I'm here to do is help you save yourself. I'm here to help you see that you have not lived the life that you know you could live. I've never met a man who was a 100% perfect, living the life he wanted to live, who ends up in this situation. It just doesn't happen. Why? Because 99.9% of us are not living that way. Even me, there is plenty for me to grow into. This is why I coach. This is why I have coaching. This is why I invest in coaching. This is why I'm a part of programs. Why? Because I want to get better. I want to get better as a leader. I want to get better as a father, as a lover, as a all of those things. And then I have accountability tools baked into what I do. So I use my own tools. I am my number one client. I have to be. I live this shit. So many guys aren't living any of this. You're just like, I made a change. I got better today. Cool. But what are you actually doing? Are you taking action? Or is everything just getting into information? There's a saying we have in church about fat Christians. Yeah, they are fat because they go to the buffet. But no, they're sort of spiritually fat because they don't actually do anything with the knowledge and the wisdom. There's even a scripture that says knowledge puffs up. What that means basically is like, hey, I can learn everything and I can get fat from all this knowledge, but what am I doing with it? Am I turning the knowledge into action or am I scared because I'm telling myself a story? That's what you got to decide today. So if you want access to this free course, this is literally a free, I think we did 6 hours virtual event that we did a couple years ago. You're gonna put your email into the chat right here. I'm only giving it to you guys who are in the chat. Or if you're live on Facebook, I'll let you guys post here for a couple minutes. But if we get anybody later on today, I'm not gonna be able to give it to you. I said that I would only do this for guys that are live with me today. So if you are here right now, if you put your email below in the chat, I will have it sent to you. You'll get access to it. And then my expectation is that you do something with it. My expectation is that you stop just sitting on this knowledge and you find a way to take action. I see a couple of guys, maybe not everybody wants access to it or they're just sleeping. Not really sure. You're welcome, Aaron. So that is what we're talking about, is taking action. It's the only couple guys who are actually willing to take action. There's a bunch of you on here, and most of you didn't actually take action, which is kind of funny to me, but that's okay. So post your email below, and we'll get that over to you. So as a recalculating of the three things, or just kind of a high level of what we did today. Number one is taking ownership is all about not just admitting guilt, not just admitting something wrong, but also doing something about it, taking action, making changes to how you show up, making changes to what you are doing so that you never repeat those same behaviors again. That's one. Now, how do I do that? Number one is stop fucking making excuses. Stop making excuses. Stop telling yourself stories about why you can or can't do that. And that goes with number two, which is stop lying to yourself. If you're lying to yourself about the truth, if you're lying to yourself about these things, where do you go from here? You won't be able to be successful as a man. You won't have the life you want if you keep lying to yourself. You're going to be, if you want changes in your job, if you want changes in your career, if you want changes in your marriage, you want changes in your how your relation with your kids. None of that happens until you stop lying to yourself. And then the third part is take action. You've got to take action. You've got to make changes in how you are showing up and going from here. Well, that's most of it, guys. Steve, I see you popping on here. What's up, man? You got a question for me? Steve Garber, see your video here. I don't know if you had a question. Looks like he's frozen. Not really sure. All right. If anybody else wants it, put your email below. Looks like we got half of you guys have put your emails. The rest of you haven't. It is what it is. But love to send those. We'll get those sent to you. You're welcome, Dave. Cool. If you have any questions, or if you guys are in a place, let's go ahead and drop the 15-minute link too. If you're like, dude, I want to find out more. I want to learn more about you. I want to talk to you personally. I'm going to put my personal link in here. I'm not going to get on with you though, just to shoot the shit. I want to get on with you to see if you actually want to make some changes, see if I can help you make some changes. That's my link right there. It goes to my personal calendar. I don't have a sales team or any other people right now. It's just me on purpose. I'm in a season where I'm really wanting to refine who we're working with and make sure we're working with the right clients. So that's it right there. Steve, I see your count. Are you wanting to talk to me or something? I see your, yeah, you're welcome, Jose. Did you have a question, Steve? You're muted. I can't hear you. You're still muted.
There. I just wanted to say hi. I just wanted to add my email, and I'm willing to cooperate. Me at work.
Okay. Okay. Uh, did you put your email in the chat?
Yeah, I did. Let me do it again.
I don't see it. I see Aaron, Dave, Adam, Jose. Yeah, I don't see it in here. I mean, I will say, Steve, since you and I have talked, I do have your email because you and I have chatted, obviously. So would love to hear more kind of where you're at since we last touched base. So
Okay.
All right, we'll send it to you. All right, guys, that's all I got for you. Great one. See you.